She was thrown into the snow with her newborn by the very family she married. Intethi thought she was powerless, broken, and easy to destroy, but they had no idea she had just inherited a billion-dollar empire they could only dream of tonight. She was a helpless mother in a blizzard tomorrow. The world would tremble at her name. Let's start the story. Melon stood on the edge of the old wooden porch as the winter wind screamed around her fragile body. The snow drifted like frozen knives, slicing through the dark sky as her newborn daughter pressed against her chest, shivering in a thin blanket that barely held warmth. She did not know that within the next 24 hours, her entire life would shift from despair to unimaginable power. But in that exact moment, standing outside the Kingston estate, she felt only fear. The door slammed behind her as her mother-in-law glared through the dim hallway. "There is no place for you here," the older woman barked with cold eyes full of disgust. "Her son does not want you anymore, and this child certainly has no place among the Kingston name." Melon held her baby tighter, feeling her heart shatter, yet she still stayed silent. She had learned silence was the only shield she owned. The mistress of her husband leaned casually against the rich carved doorway, smiling with cruel triumph. The woman wore a velvet robe and diamond earrings, glittering even under the low light. She whispered softly, but with poison in every word, "You should thank us for letting you stay this long." Her laugh echoed down the hall as if mocking the pain that wrapped itself around Melin's chest. Her husband, Ethan Kingston, stepped forward, his face hard with indifference. He refused to meet the eyes of the woman he once swore to protect, simply waved his hand as if dismissing a servant. "Leave," he said, his voice empty, his gaze avoiding both wife and child. "Take your things, which are frankly nothing, and go before we call security to remove you." Melon did not fight, she did not shout, she did not plead. She simply stepped off the warm marble floor into the biting storm. She walked barefoot on frozen ground because her shoes had been thrown out earlier by the mistress. She moved slowly, her daughter crying softly into her chest. The snow swallowed her steps as if the world itself was devouring her. She reached the end of the driveway, her breath trembling, her vision blurred. Her heart felt heavy, but not with anger, rather with exhaustion. Her life had been a cage since marrying into this wealthy, cruel family. She had endured humiliation, insults, isolation, and now this final abandonment. Yet she kept walking because the small heartbeat against her chest reminded her she had to survive. When she reached the abandoned bus stop at the end of the estate road, she collapsed onto the cold bench. She curled around her child, whispering soft words. "We will be okay, we will keep going." Her voice shook, but she held her daughter with fierce protectiveness. Snow piled around them, forming a white wall of silence. She looked up at the night sky, wondering why fate had always been merciless toward her. She had grown up in foster homes, moving from place to place without belonging. She had dreamed of a family, dreamed of a warm home, but instead she had married into a dynasty of arrogance and cruelty. And now she had been thrown away like a broken object. But destiny held secrets that the Kingston family could not imagine. As she sat freezing at that bus stop, a black SUV approached slowly on the empty, snowy road. Its headlights cut through the storm and stopped directly in front of her. A man stepped out, dressed in a tailored winter coat, his voice gentle yet full of urgency. "Melon Blackwood." She blinked, confused because no one had used her maiden name in years. "Yes," she whispered, holding her child close. He kneeled in front of her, offering his gloved hands. "I have been searching for you for 2 days. This storm made it nearly impossible. My name is Carter Hale, legal executor of the Blackwood estate." Her heart stilled. She did not understand Blackwood estate. She repeated faintly. Carter nodded slowly. "Your grandfather Charles Blackwood passed away 3 days ago and left his entire empire. To you, she stared at him, her lips trembling. I do not have a grandfather. Carter spoke softly, the snow swirling around them. You did, but he kept his distance for reasons deeply tied to family conflict. Asterisk, he searched for you throughout his life, and, in the end, he succeeded. Asterisk, you are the sole heir to Blackwood. Global holdings valued at $2.3 billion. Asterisk, your inheritance transferred. Legally this morning, silence flooded the air around her. She held her newborn tighter as warmth, finally, reached her chest. Asterisk, 2.3 billion. Asterisk, the numbers felt unreal, impossible. Like a story told by someone dreaming. Asterisk, she had spent years living under cruelty without a single person offering kindness. Asterisk, now a man stood before her, offering proof that she was worth more than they ever believed. Carter removed his coat and wrapped it around her. And the baby, please come with me, he urged. Asterisk, you and your daughter are no longer alone. Your life is about to change forever. She stared at him, then nodded, slowly letting him help her stand. Asterisk, snow clung to her hair, her clothes, her eyelashes. Asterisk, but for the first time in years, she felt something that resembled hope. Asterisk, as she stepped into the SUV, warmth enveloped her. Asterisk, Carter handed her a folder thick with legal papers. Asterisk, inside were signatures, documents, property lists, count numbers, and a handwritten letter. Asterisk, her breath caught as she saw the name on the letter. Asterisk, Charles Blackwood. Asterisk, the man she had never met. Her last living family. Asterisk, her hands shook as she began to read. My dearest Melon, if fate allows this letter to reach, you know that I searched for you for years. Asterisk, your mother was my daughter, and losing her destroyed our family. Asterisk, I failed her, and I will not fail you. Asterisk, everything I built, everything I protected, now belongs to you. Use it to create the life you deserved from the beginning. Do not bow to anyone who tried to break you. Asterisk, and do not fear standing alone, because a true Blackwood never kneels with endless love. Your grandfather. Tears streamed down her face as she held the letter close. Asterisk, her daughter slept soundly, now wrapped in warmth. Carter glanced at her with gentle respect. We'll arrive at Blackwood Tower in 30 minutes. He said softly, your security team has already been assigned. Your new residence is ready. Asterisk, you are officially chief executive and primary owner. Asterisk, the words washed over her slowly. Owner, chief executive, billionaire. She breathed deeply, allowing her mind to absorb the reality. Asterisk, the world that once crushed her under its structure, under its heel, was now at her feet. Asterisk, her in-laws, who had thrown her into the snow, would soon learn the truth. Asterisk, and when they did, the earth beneath them would shake. Asterisk, as the SUV rolled down the icy road, her heart transformed. Asterisk, the broken woman who had walked barefoot through a blizzard was gone. Asterisk, in her place rose someone stronger, fiercer, unbreakable. She stared out the window at the dark sky. A single thought formed in her mind. Asterisk, they tried to destroy me, but I will rise, and when I rise, asterisk, the Kingston family will fall. Asterisk, hours later, she stood in the penthouse of Blackwood Tower. Asterisk, its vast windows overlooked the entire city, glittering like a sea of stars. Asterisk, the residence felt warm, safe, luxurious, yet not overwhelming. Asterisk, Carter showed her a nursery already prepared. Asterisk, the crib sat near the window, draped with soft blanketure. Daughter slept peacefully at last. Meline walked slowly through the rooms, touching the walls, the furniture, the memories of a man she never met. Every step strengthened a fire inside her chest. She was no longer the helpless woman thrown into the snow. She was a Blackwood. In the morning, Carter handed her another document. She opened it and stared. It was a detailed report on the Kingston Corporation. Asterisk, their assets, their corruption, their hidden scandals. Her grandfather had been investigating them for years. The Kingstons had stolen land, cheated workers, avoided taxes, and ruined small businesses. Asterisk, her heart hardened as she read. Each page, they hurt me. She thought they hurt everyone, asterisk. And now? I have the power to end them. Asterisk, she stood tall, her eyes fierce with determination, asterisk, her voice steady as she spoke. Carter, prepare everything, we move at once. The downfall of the Kingston family begins now. The sun rose slowly over the city, painting soft gold across the skyline as Melon stood before the towering windows of Blackwood Tower, asterisk. She had not slept, but she did not feel tired. Asterisk, a new fire had awakened inside her the moment she discovered the truth of her inheritance, asterisk, the moment she realized she was no longer powerless, asterisk. The moment she understood that the family who had thrown her into the snow would soon face justice. Asterisk. Carter entered the room, carrying several folders, asterisk, his steps respectful. His expression steady, asterisk, everything you requested is ready. He said, asterisk, investigations, financial records, media connections, and the full past decade of Kingston family activity. Asterisk, she nodded her gaze. Sure, all right, let's begin. She sat at the table, the weight of her newborn daughter asleep in her arms. She read each paper line by line, every scandal, every lie, every victim. She was shocked by how many lives the Kingstons had crushed. How many small families had lost homes, asterisk. How many workers had been underpaid and threatened, at home. Many people had been silenced by money and lawyers. Remembered how she had once believed they were simply cold, but now she understood they were predators and she had been one of their quietest targets. Asterisk, her calm voice filled the room. Prepare a public report, a full exposure, asterisk. We will release it. When I say, Carter bowed his head. Yes, ma'am, asterisk. She stood and looked at the city. Again, she felt the strength of 1,000 battles gathering inside her. The Kingstons wanted her gone, asterisk. Now she would make sure the world knew who they really were. Asterisk. Hours passed as she met with the board members of Blackwood Global Holdings. Asterisk. Men and women who had served her grandfather for decades. Asterisk. They watched her carefully, unsure of what the young knew CEO would be like, asterisk. But the moment she stepped into the conference room, they felt the quiet authority surrounding her, asterisk. She spoke slowly, clearly, confidently, asterisk. My grandfather trusted you, and now I will trust you, asterisk. But we are entering a war, and I expect loyalty, honesty, and discipline, asterisk. This company will rise to greater heights, and no scandal of another family will taint our reputation. Asterisk. I plan to build a legacy that honors the Blackwood name. Her voice never wavered. The board members exchanged looks, then stood together in respect, their voices united. We are with you, asterisk. She nodded once, feeling the old chains of her past falling away, asterisk. Later that afternoon, Carter approached her with another document. Asterisk. This one. Different, heavier, asterisk. He hesitated before giving it to her. Melon glanced at him. What is it? Asterisk. Carter took a slow breath. A security report. Your husband, Ethan, came to the property this morning. Asterisk. He tried to force entry, claiming you stole his child, asterisk. Melan's hands tightened around her daughter's blanket. He truly believes he still has power, Carter continued, asterisk. He was escorted away by security, but he threatened to return, asterisk. He said, once he finds out what you are hiding, you will regret everything, asterisk. Melon exhaled softly, no fear visible in her eyes. He still doesn't know. Carter shook his head, asterisk. No. Ma'am, no one in the Kingston household knows who you are now, asterisk. They assume you are alone, homeless, and hiding somewhere. She looked down at her daughter, whose tiny face was calm and peaceful. Not anymore. She thought, I am no longer alone. She handed the baby to the caretaker waiting nearby and walked to her office. Her footsteps were steady, strong, filled with purpose. She sat at her desk and opened a new file, one she titled The Downfall Plan. Her mind moved swiftly, remembering every insult, every humiliation, every night she was forced to sleep in a small corner room. She remembered the mistress looking at her with superiority. She remembered her mother-in-law's sneer, asterisk. She remembered her husband's Cold eyes as he told her to leave asterisk, and she remembered the pain of walking into the storm. Barefoot holding her newborn, now she wrote the plan with the precision of someone preparing a revolution. Step 1. Financial exposure. Step 2. Legal charges. Step 3. Property acquisition. Asterisk. Step 4. Media control. Step 5. Personal confrontation. Each line. It's written with purpose. Asterisk. Each step was a piece of justice. She had been denied. She rose and met with the legal team assigned to her. They greeted her. "With respect, Mom, we are ready for your instructions." She placed the files on the table. "Begin the audit of their companies. Freeze any assets tied to fraudulent activity. Gather every witness." They silenced. The lawyers exchanged glances, recognizing the steel beneath her calm voice. One asked, "Are you certain you want to escalate this?" Quickly she answered without hesitation, "They threw my child into the snow. They deserve everything that follows." Meanwhile, miles away, inside the Kingston mansion, chaos was unfolding. Asterisk. Ethan paced the living room angrily. "Where is she?" he growled. His mother sat stiff on the couch, arms crossed. Asterisk. "Who cares? She has nothing. She is nothing." Asterisk. The mistress lounged nearby, twirling a necklace around her finger. Asterisk. "You did. USA favor Ethan. Good riddance to her." Ethan clenched his jaw. "But that child is mine," his mother snapped. "That child is a mistake." Suddenly, a servant rushed into the room holding a tablet. "Sir, you need to see this." Ethan grabbed it, irritation flooding his face. "What now?" The screen displayed a news headline. Asterisk. Blackwood Empire appoints new CEO. Mellon, Blackwood's sole heir to multi-billion fortune. Ethan froze. The world seemed to stop breathing. Asterisk. His mother snatched the tablet from him, eyes widening. Asterisk. Her voice broke into a trembling whisper. Asterisk. Mellon Blackwood. Asterisk. The mistress leaned closer. Disbelief twisting her face. She inherited billions. Ethan's heart pounded violently as confusion turned into dread. Asterisk. No. This cannot be real. She was nobody, a poor girl. From nowhere could she possibly? The servant added nervously. Asterisk. Sir, the article says she assumed full control of the empire this morning, and her security detail has doubled. Ethan stumbled back, his voice trembling. "What have we done?" Back inside Blackwood Tower, Mellon prepared for her first public appearance. Asterisk. Stylists hovered around her, adjusting her elegant black coat, brushing her hair, making sure she looked every inch the CEO she was. But Mellon did not care about glamour. She cared about power and the message she was about to deliver. She stepped onto the stage, where dozens of journalists waited. Asterisk. Flashes burst around her. She stood straight, her face calm, her eyes steady. The room quieted instantly. She spoke. "I am aware that many have questions about my sudden appointment. Asterisk. I am also aware that there are families, businesses, and individuals who have suffered injustice for years. Asterisk. I intend to correct every wrong." Asterisk. The journalists leaned forward, sensing the weight behind her words. She continued. "The Blackwood Empire will not collaborate with corrupt dynasties. Asterisk. We will stand for integrity, fairness, and accountability. Asterisk. Starting today, we will open investigations into several corporations known for exploitation, including asterisk." She paused, letting the energy shift. Asterisk. Including the Kingston company. Gasps filled the room. Cameras clicked furiously. Asterisk. Voices rose. But she continued, speaking with unbroken calm to those who built their wealth on cruelty. "I say this, your time is over." Asterisk. The room exploded with questions. Asterisk. She stepped back from the podium, her expression unchanged. Carter guided her out of the hall. "You were extraordinary," he whispered. She shook her head gently. "I was only honest." Asterisk. That night she held her sleeping daughter in the quiet of her penthouse. Asterisk. The city lights flickered below like 1,000 memories. She stroked her baby's tiny fingers, whispering softly. Asterisk. "You will never know the pain I lived. You will grow strong, safe, and loved, and I will make sure no one will." ever harm us again? Asterisk. The next morning, the consequences of her speech hit the Kingston mansion like a storm. Asterisk. The phone rang. Violently, lawyers called, banks called, asterisk, reporters surrounded their gates. Asterisk, protesters gathered outside demanding justice for the workers they abused. Ethan's mother shouted in panic, "Shut the gates, shut the lights, shut everything." Asterisk, but nothing could stop the wave Melon had unleashed. Asterisk. Ethan stared at the documents delivered to their home, freezing of accounts, pending lawsuits, asterisk, federal investigations, asterisk. Each paper was a piece of the empire falling apart. Asterisk. He whispered shakily. Malene did this back in Blackwood Tower. Malene signed another order, asterisk, acquire all land the Kingstons stole from families, return it to the rightful owners. Carter approached her again, asterisk. Ma'am, this will completely bankrupt them. She nodded. Good, asterisk. That evening, a secure line rang in her office. It was Ethan, his voice cracked with desperation. Milan, please, we need to talk, asterisk. She listened silently, letting his fears spill through the speaker. We made mistakes, but we can fix this. Please just meet me. I need to see my child, she answered calmly. You threw your child into the snow. Ethan flinched, asterisk. I did not mean. She ended the call without another word. In that moment, she realized something powerful, asterisk. She no longer needed closure. She no longer needed him to feel sorry. She had risen far beyond his reach, and soon the world would know it. The night deepened around Blackwood Tower, yet Malene felt no exhaustion. Her strength only grew as the truth of her new power sank deeper into her bonish walked through the quiet corridors, thinking of the years she had endured, silence, humiliation. And for those years no longer haunted her. No, they fueled her. In the early hours of morning, Carter entered her office again, carrying another report. His eyes serious but calm. Another updated Kingston legal team attempted to counter your accents. They tried to unfreeze a portion of their assets. The request was denied. Mailing moved the files aside. Her mind focused, sharp and controlled wit about the workers they mistreated. Carter nodded. Contacted Themony, are ready to testify. Many said no one had ever cared enough to listen. Her jaw tight. Ned will listen, will rebuild their lives dry, will give them the justice they waited for. Outside the city, a cold unrest simmered at the Kingston estate. Ethan screamed at his managers, demanding explanation. We are our accounts locked? We are reporters outside? Why are people threatening to shut us down? His mother paced the floor, her nerves unraveling. Thought, girl cannot do this, has no right. But deep inside, she feared the truth article, the headlines, the sudden collapse around Thimmet, all pointed to one undeniable reality. Malin Blackwood was no longer the woman they once controlled. Mistress stood silent for once. Her confidence shattered, her voice low as she muttered, Chaz is not the same person, and we pushed her too far. Back in Blackwood Tower, an emergency meeting. Began top advisors sat around a massive glass table. Screens displayed charts, reports, and news feeds. Rise of Blackwood impurity, fall of Kingston Corporation. Public support flooded. Nth World admired the new CEO standing against corrupt unknown. Advisor spoke carefully. Mom, the public trusts. Yair's speech ignited a movement. If you want to push further, now is the time. Another advisor, Adid, can finalize the charges and initiate a full takeover. Entire Kingston Corporation could be under Blackwood control by tomorrow. Malin sat quietly, absorbing their words. A takeover, complete shift of power. Ed was more than revenge. It was justice, reshaping the world's thought of her daughter and of every individual who suffered under Kingston. Greet. Her voice rose soft, steady, unbreakable. I initiate the take of Earth Room. Erupted into swift, coordinated action. Papers, signed calls, placed systems, activitude. Blackwood Global Holdings moved like a silent, unstoppable force. Meanwhile, reporters gathered outside the Kingston estate, demanding answers. Sir, is it true? Your wife is now a billionaire, sir. Did you force her out, sir? Did your family throw her into the snow with a new brunette then? Refused to answer. Guards pushed cameras away, but nothing could stop the wave of truth sweeping through the city. Mistress panicked as messages flooded her phone, people insulting her, accusing her, calling her heartless. Perfect image crumbled. She threw her phone across the room, screaming, "This it's all her fault." Hours later, the Kingstons received a legal notice. Their company was now under investigation by multiple federal agencies. Their board demanded emergency resignation. Empire they once believed untouchable, cracked like thin ice. Thin sat on the staircase, head in his hands. For the first time he realized he had lost everything, not because Melon destroyed him, but because he never valued her, never respected her, never protected her. Rot. Blackwood Tower. Melon met with victims of Kingston injustice. A father whose land had been Takina, business owner whose shop had been Ariana. Family pushed into poverties. Listened to each one with compassion and strength. She wrote promises on paper, promises she intended to fulfill. Their relief filled the room like warmth. Woman approached her, trembling. "You are the first person in years to help Asmaline's heart soften. You deserve justice, and you will have it." As the sun began to rise again, Melon returned to the penthouse. Her daughter woke with a soft Kremlin, lifted her gently, feeling warmth fill her chest, whispered into the tiny Eru will grow in a world where your mother fought for her place. Ao will never be afraid. Carter arrived with the final morning report. "Mom, the takeover is complete. Kingston Corporation is now under Blackwood Control Board, has been dissolved via accounts. Remain frozen. Legal actions are proceeding. Gun. Their media influence has collapsed." Malin breathed in slow. Lith world felt lighter. Air clear. Justice closer. Looked out at the city, imagining the moment her in-laws would learn the full truth from her own lips. That moment would come soon, but she was no longer driven by force. Was driven by purpose. Carter stood beside her quietly. "You have done what many thought impossibles," answered softly, "have only begun. The world needs to know what they died, and I will not let their cruelty fade into silence." Meanwhile, at the Kingston estate, a final blow. Ayurveda convoy of officials approached. The Gacython's mother rushed forward. "What is this?" Lead official spoke calmly. "This property is subject to investigation. You are required to vacate certain areas immediate." Ethan stumbled outside. Pale Shakanthus is madness. Have rights. The official handed him a Phalitha's order, was approved by Blackwood Global Holdings. Ethan froze at that name, felt like a shadow swallowing the ground beneath him. Back at Blackwood Tower, Melon received a personal request. Ethan wanted to meet, begged for one chance to talk. Arthur looked at her cautiously. "Mom, we can deny it." Closed her eyes for a moment. Thon opened them with controlled strength. "Null him combat. He will not come to me as a husband will. Come to me as a man facing the consequences of his own cruel tithe." Meeting was scheduled for the next day. Preparations began. Security teams gatherettes. Board stood ready. That night, Melon entered the nursery and watched her daughter sleep. She felt the weight of everything she had survived. She had risen above everything. She had become blizzard, abandonment, humiliations, inheritance, a thrice to power. The plan for justice whispered softly into the quiet room. "Tomorrow he will see the woman he tried to destroy, and he will understand that he never broke. May he simply awaken the strength I never knew I had." To walk to the balcony, letting the wind brush through her hair, gazed at the city lights. World was changing. She was the one shaping its future. Morrow would be the day. The Kingstons faced Hearth Day. Truth stood in front of Themth Day. Justice finally spoken. She was ready. The morning of the confrontation arrived with a quiet heaviness that wrapped itself around the entire city. Blackwood Tower stood tall, like a monument forged from power and destiny. Inside its highest floor, Melon stood beside the window, holding her daughter. Closet sky felt still, as if waiting for what would unfold. Whispered to her child, "Today truth will finally look the Kingstons in the eyes." Handed the baby gently to the caretaker and stepped into her private of Fizhar. Steps were steady, controlled, filled with the calm of someone who had survived storms far worse than a meeting. Carter waited outside the door, his expression unreadably bowed his head. Respect Fluthen has arrived. Momshi nodded once and moved toward. The meeting Halage step echoed through the corridor like a declaration of her strength no fear touched. Her heart no doubt clouded her mind, entered the hall where her board stood on one side, lawyers on Anather security guards lined the wall sand. At the center was Ethany looked different from the man she once married at his shoulders. Sagged, his eyes dimmed, and his pride. Shatters stared at her as if seeing her for the first time in his life. Our presence filled the room like a Wevity woman. He once threw a Ziddic woman he believed powerless stood before him as the billionaire CEO who had taken his empire from Heimthon opened his mouth, but no words, Cammy. Seemed unable to breathe them. Ellen took her seat at the head of the long table. Without looking at him, Carter placed the files before Hirsch, flipped them open calmly, linely. Then did she raise her eyes to Heimthon. Swallowed hard, mailing pleasy. I need to explain. She did not blink. Explain what? Explain how you threw your wife and newborn into the snow, or how you stood beside your mistress while your family humiliated me, or how you tried to paint me as unworthy. When the only thing I ever did was love Yothon's voice, Crackety did not know. No, he did not know. What you had her gaze, sharpened head so. Your behavior would have changed if I were wealthiest. Face twisted in shame, don't know. She leaned forward. Slightly bet, let me tell you something. Ethany did know who you wearied. I married you anyway, not for money, not for power, but because I believed in Leviathan. Your family taught me a lesson I will never forget. As Hans' hands shook, his voice trembling. Malin, please, you want to see my child's room? Frozite's guards, shift-heads, lawyers, stare at Carter. Did not move. Malin spoke with a calmness sharper than any Bladeau. Lost that right the moment you abandoned her in a blizzardathon. Flinched, as though her words struck him. Physicality was under pressure. Under stress he made mistakes. You have to understand. She stood slow, lithe. Energy in the room shifted as everyone felt her authority. Rasmalin walked toward. Aimeline walked toward him, her eyes never leaving his woman he once saw as weak. Now towered above him with a presence he could not withstand. He understand exactly. Who, you area man who cared only about his reputation? Man who allowed his mother and mistress to destroy his Mariagia? Man who valued everything except Loyochiand. Today you stand here not because you regret what you did, because you regret what you Lostathon. Fell silent, this chest rising and falling rapidly. Truth was too heavy for him. Dedenne returned to her seat and opened another file inside were dozens of signed documental legal actions. Financial freezes, witness statements, federal orders. Placed them neatly in front of him. Your family empire is gone. Your companies now belong to Blackwood Global Holdings. Your counts are under investigation. Your mother and mistress are facing charges for fraud, intimidation, and property theft. And you, Ethan Kingston, will answer for child in danger. Menathon's eyes Widned no melon please not jailnet these was wrongy. M. Suri will do anything, just give me one chance, please. Forgive. Mesh looked at him with cold clarity. Forgave you long. Agabot's forgiveness does not erase consequence. She dropped to his knees before hearthboard. Members watched in stunned silence. Carter stood still. Room felt breathless. Ethan whispered, loved you. He really did. Molly's expression did not change. Love is not measured by words set, is measured by actions. Sand. Your actions spoke louder than you ever did. Turned to the guards escort him. Otethan looked up in panic. Malinly, please didn't do this. Didn't end my life like this. Answered quietly. Am not ending your life. I am ending your power. The guards lifted him to his feet. Did not fight. Simply stared at her with hollow disbelief. He was taken from the room. Doors closed behind Hyman. The echo of his departure faded into silence. Board exhaled. Collectively, Carter stepped forward. Warder, are your next orders? Mom, she closed the file. Me next order. Built every life. The Kingstons destroyed that. It became the new mission, and she committed herself to it with the same fire that carried her through the storms. Created new programs for workers' funds, for small business Cecilo help, for families pushed into poverty, compensation for stolen lands, opportunities For children who had been denied education, people across the city spoke her name with gratitude, not as the billionaire heiress, but as the woman who rose from cruelty and turned her pain into power. Her daughter grew. Surrounded by warmth, surrounded by loves, surrounded by a future that sparkled like light through a window. Pasedthi Kingston mansion was Cece's mistress. Quietly disappeared from public life. Ethan's mother relocated to a distant townland. Ethan, broken, humbled, and alone, requested to meet her again. This time she agreed, not for him but for herself, met. In a small legal officeno Kamara Snow, Gardsonly Trothathon, looked the near old Roz. If the weight of his past sat on his shoulders, spoke with a softness she had never heard. Before Malene, no, I cannot fix any thingy. No, I lost everything by my own hands. Beauty, wanna say Thissy, am sorry, am truly sorry, not because of the empire, not because of the money bet. 'Cause of how I treated Yui, her the only person who ever loved Mesh. Listened silently, had no hate left for him, not any more a time. Had healed what he had Brakini, except your apologish said, but we will never return to the pasty thin, no didi noe. Just wanted you to hear, Mesh studand, he remained. See, Ted's symbolism was clear. Was no longer the man above her, was no longer the husband with power. Her was simply a man facing the reality of his own actions. Left the room without looking back, and for the first time, Ethan did not chase Heras. Years passed. Malin became known worldwide as the CEO who transformed pain into justice. Her leadership reshaped industry. Her compassion changed hundreds of lives. Her daughter grew into a bright child who followed her everywhere. Her name became a symbol of strength. People spoke about the blizzards, inheritance, revengeth, victory. But Melon knew her true victory was not in destroying the Kingston empire, but in rebuilding herself. O night, as she stood on the balcony, holding her daughters, looked at the city glowing beneath the stars. Her voice soft as she spoke. Keithy threw us into the snow, but we rose higher than they ever imagined. Her daughter giggled, her little hands reaching for the scanned. Melon smiled. Her past no longer defined her. Pain no longer held. Hirsch had taken everything and shaped it into a legacy of power, love, and justice. The storm that once nearly ended her life came the wind that carried her to greatness, and the world would never forget the woman who rose from the snow to command an empire at the end.